Hi guys, so I'm going to talk you through the build for this raised bed. I built it the other day. It's really simple and quick to put up, definitely a beginner level DIY project. All you really need is three things. You're going to need your hardware cloth, you're going to need your logs, and you're going to need some landscaping fabric. I'm using hardware cloth that is 10 foot in length, so it's already cut to length. This is 2 foot tall, and I'm going to build two more beds today. The first one that I did was probably about 15 inches, but I'm going to cut this in half. So this cost me $18. I'm going to cut it in half and do two 12-inch beds and put them next to this one, so I end up with a little trio of circular beds together. So yeah, basically the cost of the bed of two beds is $9 a bed for the hardware cloth plus the firewood logs. You're going to pick up your landscape fabric from a shop like Farm and Home, and I think it costs about $12 for 100 foot. And then the last thing that I used to secure the logs to the wire frame were these tin screws. So the tin screws have a hexagonal head on them, and they have a washer. You're going to need that so that when you put the screw through the hardware cloth, the washer is going to catch onto the wire and hold it together on the log. So on your screwdriver, you're just going to need the hex head, like so. And if you've not used a drill much before, the hex head is a really easy screw. You know, you don't sort of misfire a lot with it. So that's why I chose to use them, because I am not a professional DIYer working on it. And we'll get going. The other thing that I did do was I lined the logs between the hardware cloth and the logs. I put a layer of old plastic bags just to help with moisture, to stop the logs rotting out too fast. They are going to rot and decompose over time, so I'm trying to protect them as much as possible. I know using plastic bags is not everybody's cup of tea. However, I am selective about the type of plastic that I use, and I've also done a post on that about the different types of plastic. Bags will show you, any plastic item will have a code on it, and if you look for PP, I think it's number 4 or number 5, then that type of plastic is, it doesn't react to high heat or break down and put toxins into the soil, as far as the science goes. But can we ever completely avoid every different bacteria and toxin? I don't think so. So it's more about making your own choices and limiting risks as you feel is best for you. Okay, socks, let's get going. The cats are here, the ducks are right here. Chickens are over there. It's a nice day out, so we'll get going. So you definitely want to use gloves when you're handling hardware cloth. It is a beast and it will shred anything that it gets onto. It actually comes with a wire that's wrapped around it. So if you can see, I've just found the end there. And you want to unravel that wire and keep it, because that's what's going to help you tie the hardware cloth together once you've got it stood up in a circle. So I don't want to straighten it out too much because I do want to put it back into a circle afterwards, but I find it easier to cut when it is laid out in a straight line. If you've not used these before, these are tin snips. I first used them about 2 years ago, and they're just a tool for cutting wire or tin, so that's what I'm going to use. If you save the wire that the hardware cloth was rolled up with, you can then reuse it to tie the ends of the hardware cloth together to hold the circle shape in place. The next part of the build is arranging the logs around the outside as you want them. With the first bed I built, which you can see just to the side of me, I used some thick and thin logs. With the thick logs I split them open first and attached the flat side to the frame. Having a flat surface against the cloth did make it easier to screw into. However, with the second bed I used all small logs. I found it was easier to close the gaps using small logs, however, it probably took me a bit longer in attaching them all. Next, I put a plastic lining between the logs and the hardware cloth. I do this to protect the logs from being in direct contact with moisture from the soil, and it's a great way to repurpose old feed bags. If you look on any plastic item, you can see the SPI number, which tells you more about the plastic and how it responds in different conditions. This will help you understand which plastics are best to use if you're worried about chemicals leaching into the soil. I continued around the bed, attaching each log to the frame from the inside, going through the plastic and straight into the log. So I'm pretty pleased with how it's come out. I need to now go back around on the bottom row and put a screw in the bottom of each log, which shouldn't take too long now that the logs are all in place. I will say that fitting logs together is a bit of a Tetris Lego style exercise, so take your time with it and try and line them up so that you don't have too many gaps. Each log has its own shape, but seems like they all went together eventually, and there's not too many gaps. So I'm pretty pleased with how it's looking. Putting that second screw in really pulled the frame together and made it much more secure. And once that was done, I put a second lining of landscape fabric to cover the wire and used a staple gun to secure it to the logs. Once that was done, all that was left to do was to fill it with our homemade compost. This build really is as quick and easy as it looks, and if you're on a budget, it will make an eye-catching rustic feature to any garden. You can plant anything in here, and you could even add some vertical trellising if you wanted to grow beans or peas or other climbing plants. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Leave me a comment below to let me know what you think, and thanks for watching.